Good morning, Madam Clerk. Would you please call the roll?
You have a quorum, Madam Chair.
Thank you. First, Tyler, would you please give the report?
Madam Chair, starting with the Resources Subcommittee report, which is on the green packet for members. The first bill is House Bill 1108, Delegate Carr, relating to the Virginia Public Procurement Act, Construction Management, Design, Build, Contracting. It's identical to Senator Locke's Senate bill, which passed the Senate 40 yes, 0 no. Subcommittee recommends reporting 4 yes, 0 no.
So moved.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be reported. All in favor of that motion? Madam Clerk, please open the roll. Express your yeas and nays.
Ayes 13, no 0.
Ayes 13, no 0. That bill is reported. Tyler?
Madam Chair, the next bill is House Bill 825, Delegate Cousins, relating to public school funding. It's identical to your bill, Senate Bill 105, Madam Chair, which passed the Senate. Madam Chair, the subcommittee's recommendation was to incorporate this House bill into another House bill, but we've learned that that can't be a motion at this point. And so the recommendation of the subcommittee would now be to make Delegate Cousins a chief co-patron on House Bill 624.
You've heard the report. Okay. Tyler?
The next bill is House Bill 1247, Delegate Maldonado, relating to public school funding. Sorry, my microphone. This bill is now identical to Senate Bill 272, Senator Hashmi. The subcommittee's recommendation was to report 4 yes, 0 no.
So moved.
You have a motion and a second. My mic is out. There's a motion and a second that the bill be reported. All in favor, please designate your preference electronically.
Ayes 13, noes 1.
Ayes 13, noes 1. The bill is reported.
The next bill is House Bill 624, Delegate Rizul, relating to public school funding, which is now identical to your bill, Senate Bill 105, Madam Chair, which has passed the Senate. The subcommittee recommends reporting 4 yes, 0 no, and adding the Delegate Cousins as a co-patron.
Adding Delegate Cousins as co-patron. You've heard the motion? And a second? All in favor? Madam Clerk, please open the roll.
Ayes 14, no 0.
Ayes 14, no 0. That bill is reported.
Madam Chair, the next bill is House Bill 1505, Delegate Austin's, relating to intercollegiate athletics, student athletes' compensation for name, image, or likeness. The subcommittee recommends adopting a substitute. The substitute has a delayed effective date of July 1st, 2025. Directs the Athletics Commission, the Intercollegiate Athletic Review Commission, to review plans, and then eliminates the non-disclosure language in the bill. Subcommittee recommends reporting the substitute 4 yes, 0 no.
Madam Chair, I move we adopt the substitute.
There's a motion and a second that we adopt the substitute. Madam Clerk, please open the roll. A voice vote. Sorry about that. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Now move we report the bill.
Now there's a motion and a second that the bill be reported with the substitute. Madam Clerk, now open the roll. Thank you.
Ayes 14, no 0.
Ayes 14, no 0. The bill is reported with the substitute.
Madam Chair, the next bill is House Bill 1089, Delegate Coiner, relating to special education and related services. This bill is similar to Senate Bill 220, Senator Favola. Subcommittee recommends amending and adding a reenactment clause and reporting the bill 4 yes, 0 no.
I move the amendment.
There's a motion and a second that the amendment be agreed to. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Now motion
Now
on.
move we report the bill.
Now there's a motion that the bill be reported. Second. And a second. Madam Clerk, please open the roll.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. That bill is reported.
Madam Chair, the next bill is House Bill 1445, Delegate Phillips, relating to New College Institute and the duties. This is similar to Senate Bill 62, Senator Stanley, which was continued by the committee. Subcommittee recommends continuing the bill 3 yes, 1 no.
So moved.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be continued. Madam Clerk, please open the roll.
Ayes 10, noes 5.
Ayes 10, noes 5. The bill is continued.
Madam Chair, the next bill is House Bill 1401, Delegate Clark. This relates to Virginia law enforcement retirement system and sorry, Madam Chair, this is House Bill 1401. Relates to Virginia law officers retirement system. It adds firefighters employed by the Department of Military Affairs. Madam Chair, the patron was not before the subcommittee today, so the subcommittee has no recommendation on House Bill 1401.
Delegate Clark is now available.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Yes, HB 1401, I did go back and do some homework, and I have a few friends to phone that can explain that the reimbursement will be there for the retirement program, if they can speak to it, if that's to give you clarity.
Any questions of the patron? You said you have someone want to speak? I can give him 1 minute.
Yes.
Morning, ma'am. Russell Woodley with the Virginia Department of Military Affairs. As Delegate Clark said, this benefit would be highly useful for our firefighters as far as recruiting our firefighters. DMA certainly supports this, and the cost of this will be fully reimbursed by the federal government. And we've gotten confirmation of that from our federal government representative. These enhanced benefits will be paid for and reimbursed.
Any questions of the patron or the speaker by members of the committee? Comments? Motion?
Substitute motion to carry the bill over. I looked at the documents you provided me, and I didn't really see that the benefits were going to be reimbursed by the federal government. I'd like to flesh that out a little bit, and we can in the interim if we carry the bill over.
Second.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be carried over. Madam Clerk, please open the roll.
Ayes 9, noes 6.
Ayes 9, no 6. The bill is carried over.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Tyler?
Madam Chair, yes. The next bill is House Bill 1433, Delegate Hodges, relating to the Line of Duty Act and the eligible dependents. It adds children who were born or adopted prior to an employee's claim approval date to the list of eligible dependents under the Line of Duty Act. Delegate Hodges was not present at the subcommittee, so there's no recommendation from the subcommittee.
Delegate Hodges?
And Madam Chair, we were present in subcommittee, and the recommendation was to let's take a look at this and see if we can find a fix. If we recall that, this is,
There's a committee sub.
Madam Chair, yeah, I think that was last week, not this morning, and I think there's a committee substitute.
okay.
What does that
We need to
do?
hear the committee sub.
Madam Chair, the committee substitute was discussed just before the meeting, but it would provide that rather than the prior to the time of the employee's death or disability or claim approval date as the bill comes before us, it would be when prior to the time of the employee's death or disability or no later than 6 months after. And we're still fleshing that out, but that would be the change.
And I would consider that a friendly amendment, and it would give us time to continue working on this, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
The one additional thing for the committee substitute is it would also say that the health insurance coverage we perspective from when the bill becomes effective and not
Okay.
retroactive.
Okay. As long as we can keep moving forward and continue to work on this, Madam Chair, I would consider that to be friendly.
Move report to the substitute, or have we adopted the substitute, Madam Chair?
There's a motion and a second in case we didn't. That the substitute be adopted. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Now, a motion on the bill. Okay, there's been a motion and a second that the bill be reported with the substitute. Madam Clerk, please open the roll.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes
you, Madam
15,
Chair.
no 0. The
Have a
bill is
great day.
reported.
Madam Chair, the
Tyler.
next bill is House Bill 1357, Delegate Marshall, relating to the powers and duties of the Advanced Learning and Research. It would permit ILAR to do non-credit workforce training. The subcommittee recommends a substitute, which would also give the same authority to the Roanoke Higher Education Authority and state that the funds must be from other than general funds. And subcommittee's recommendation is to report the substitute 4 yes.
Madam
0
Chair,
no.
move the substitute.
There's a motion and a second that the substitute be agreed to. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Now move to report the bill.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be reported with a substitute. Madam Clerk, please open the roll.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill is reported with a substitute. Tyler.
Madam Chair, House Bill 342, Delegate Hope, relating to the possession of naloxone by state agencies and the guidelines for their use. The subcommittee recommends a substitute which would direct a work group on implementing a tiered or phasing of a system approach to deploy naloxone to state agencies, and the subcommittee's recommendation is to report the substitute 4 yes, 0 no.
Madam Chair, move the substitute.
There's a motion and a second that the substitute be agreed to. All in favor, please say aye.
Now move we report the bill.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be reported with the substitute. Madam Clerk, please open the roll.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill is reported with the substitute.
Madam Chair, the next bill is House Bill 285, Delegate McQuinn, relating to the building code and exemption for plans and specifications for bus shelters. The subcommittee recommends a substitute which would say that the localities are responsible for permitting and must become permanently liable, and then that this authority expires after 1 year. The subcommittee's recommendation is to report the substitute 4 yes, 0 no.
Motion on the substitute?
So moved.
There's a motion and a second that the substitute be agreed to. All in favor say aye. Motion on the bill?
Move the report.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be reported with the substitute. Madam Clerk, please open the roll.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill is reported with the substitute.
Madam Chair, the next bill is House Bill 1312, Delegate Orrock, which would extend conservation officers to the Virginia Law Officers Retirement System. Delegate Orrock was not able to be before the subcommittee this morning.
O'Rourke is present now.
Good morning,
Delegate
Madam Chair.
O'Rourke. Good
Members of
morning.
the committee. Very straightforward, consistent with JLOC recommendation. This will add our state park police to the Valars effective July 1 of 2025 and prospective from that date forward in service. It's pretty straightforward, Madam Chairman. I think y'all have seen similar legislation in past years. It is in the House budget.
You all have heard from the patron. Any questions to the patron?
Madam
Senator
Chair,
Locke?
Madam Chair, I had something similar relative to animal control officers that was carried over in House Appropriations, and therefore I move that we carry over House Bill 1312.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be carried over. All in favor? 1. Madam Clerk, just open the roll, please.
Ayes 7, noes 8.
Ayes 7, noes 8. The bill will be carried over. I'm sorry, that motion failed. There's a motion. It was a 7-8. There's a motion and a second that the bill be reported. Madam Clerk, open the roll.
Ayes 10, noes 5.
Ayes 10, noes 5.
Thank you, Madam
The
Chair.
bill
members
is
of the committee.
reported.
Love surprises. Thank you.
What happened?
Madam Chair, the next bill is House Bill 675, Delegate Runyon, relating to the School for the Deaf and Blind and the authority to establish a campus police. Subcommittee recommends carrying over the bill 4 yes, 0 no to continue looking at this issue in the interim.
I'll make a motion to carry that bill over.
There's a motion to carry the bill over and a second. Madam Clerk, please open the roll.
Ayes 12, noes 3.
Ayes 12, noes 3. The bill is continued.
Madam Chair, the next bill is House Bill 677, Delegate Simons, relating to the the employment of a certified school library specialist at the Department of Education. Subcommittee recommends carrying the bill over 3 yes, 0 no.
So moved.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be continued. Madam Clerk, please open the roll.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill is carried over.
Madam Chair, the next bill is House Joint Resolution Number 67, Delegate Simons, relating to this formation of the Joint Committee on Fair School Funding. Subcommittee recommends continuing the bill 4 yes, 0 no, and discussing this in budget conference for additional language on the existing K-12 funding subcommittee.
Motion, please. There's a motion and a second that the bill be continued. Madam Clerk, please open the roll.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill will be continued.
Madam Chair, the next bill is House Bill 697, relating to recovery high schools and the establishment in certain superintendents' regions. The subcommittee's recommendation is to continue the bill and continue to explore the formation of recovery high schools in the budget.
You heard the recommendation.
Second.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be continued. Madam Clerk, please open the roll.
Ayes 14, noes 1.
Ayes 14, no 1.
And Madam Chair, the last bill in the Resources Subcommittee is House Bill 1101, Delegate Wiley, relating to the definition of professional services and the Procurement Act related to licensed investment and financial advisors. The subcommittee recommends continuing the bill 3 yes, 1 no.
Madam Clerk, please open the roll.
Ayes 10, noes 5.
Ayes 10, noes 5. The bill is continued. April. Tyler.
Yes, Madam Chair, now going back to the bills before the full committee, which are on the white pieces of paper for members. These are the identical bills. First, House Bill 419, Delegate Bulova, relates to early childhood care and education funding. This bill is now identical to Senate Bill 54, Senator Locke, which has passed the Senate.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be reported. Madam Clerk, please open the roll.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill is reported.
Madam Chair, the next identical bill is House Bill 133, Converse Fowler's, relating to ongoing health care for employees exposed to toxic materials. It's identical to Senator Rouse's Senate Bill 650, but DLS has advised that there's some technical amendments necessary to the House bill.
There's a motion and a second that the technical amendments be agreed to. All in favor, please say aye. Now we need to know what? Okay. There's a motion and a second that the substitute be agreed to. All in favor, please open the roll, Madam Clerk.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. Thank you. The bill is reported with a substitute.
Madam Chair, we're now moving to the similar bills. The first one is House Bill 625, Delegate Rizul, which is the establishment of an Office of Community Schools in the Department of Education. It's similar to Senator Aird's Senate Bill 608. I believe the difference is that the Senate bill limits technical assistance and excludes the goal of supporting the top 1/3 of schools with the highest.
Your highest. So are we conform with that? Okay. You've heard the report? There's a motion? There's a motion to conform the bill to. Please open the roll. 6:25.
Ayes 10, noes 5.
Ayes 10, noes 5. The bill will be reported with the substitute.
Madam Chair, the next bill, House Bill 1499, Delegate Willis' bill, relates to the Virginia Health Workforce Development Authority, ex officio members, etc. It's similar to Senate Bill 155, Senator Head's bill, which passes Senate 40 yes, 0 no. The recommendation was a committee substitute to conform to Senate Bill.
There's a motion and a second that the committee substitute be agreed to. All in favor, please say aye. Now, motion on the, there's a motion and a second that the substitute be reported. Madam Clerk, please open the roll.
Ayes 15, noes 0.
Ayes 15, noes 0. The bill will be reported with the substitute. It looks like it's Delegate Rasul. You're the first in the queue for sign up. House Bill 1496.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the committee, House Bill 1496 that is before you, I believe may have been conformed to Senate version that left here. And what this does is provide a new definition for surveillance technology as we move forward. And
Delegate Rasul, we have a substitute, we have a committee substitute. So could I get a motion on the substitute? So moved. There's a motion and a second that the substitute be agreed to. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Do we know what the substitute? April?
Madam Chair, the committee substitute states from such funds as appropriated, since it was not in the Senate budget.
thank you.
You may continue, Delegate Rasul.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think that, based on your look, I think that completes my testimony right now.
I'll move the bill. I move the bill substitute. Please report.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be reported
Thank
with
you.
the substitute. You thought it was gonna kill it, didn't you?
No.
All in favor, Madam Clerk, please open the roll.
Ayes 15, noes 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill is reported with a substitute. Lots of surprises around here.
Thank you, Madam Chair,
You're
members
very
of the
welcome.
committee.
Next up on the Senate is Delegate Hernandez.
Next on this in queue is Delegate Hernandez. And you will be followed by Delegate Krizak.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. This is HB 855. It's a simple bill designed to help DSS move more quickly to establish a year-round application window for the low-income heating and cooling assistance program known as LIHEAP. I just want to say, in terms of the fiscal impact of the bill, I think we navigate that by making all the policy changes contingent on the availability of funding. But what this bill will do is help them move more quickly with the regulatory process. In talking with DSS, they said without this bill, it could take them 3 years to accomplish a year-round
Okay, you do
application.
have we do have a committee sub.
Then yes.
Could we get a motion on the subs? Second. There's a motion and a second that the committee substitute be agreed to. All in favor, please say aye. And now we want staff attorney to explain that to us.
Madam Chair, the bill as it comes before us provided for a year-round application period. The committee's substitute would allow an application period that provides adequate time for individuals to apply and is extended beyond the current application period in effect as of July 1, 2024, provided that adequate funding is available to extend such application period.
Delegate Hernandez, you good with that?
That's the bill in a nutshell.
Madam Chairman.
Senator McDougal.
Madam Chairman, as I was looking through the notes, question, I don't remember seeing this in the House version of the budget. I don't think we had a similar bill. Was this funded in the House budget?
This is there's no Senate cognate, Madam Chair, I would say to the senator for this bill. It was also nothing in the budget because we do not anticipate a fiscal impact. This is just to accelerate the regulatory process. And the Deputy Commissioner of DSS is here also if you'd like to hear from him as well.
I would, but first I'd like to go to committee member Senator Favola.
Madam Chair, we've heard this in the implementation of social services.
Turn your mic on, please.
we heard this in rehabilitation social services, and we were told we're leaving federal money on the table, but we may need more staff to actually process applications. So I'd be interested in hearing what our expert witness has to say.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Carl Ayers, Deputy Commissioner of DSS. As Delegate Hernandez explained, is the bill will basically expedite the regulatory process to move forward with this. In order for us to actually do this, there is a cost that would be have to be borne by the agency. It's not borne by the bill the way that it's written or from the substitute this morning, but in order for us to actually do this, there will have to be money that will be appropriated for it.
That explanation is very, very helpful.
Madam Chairman,
Senator
can
McDougal.
I ask, does that, as the bill originally came to us, it made it year-round with just extending the time frame. Are you still anticipating extra staff?
Yes, so Madam Chair and Senator McDougal, in order for us to actually move the process and be able to expand the timeframes and everything along those lines, we'll have to make systems changes, and we expect an additional number of individuals that will come in, because right now the application period is roughly about a month, especially with the heating program. So if you go to a year-round, then our local departments are not staffed in a way to accept applications year-round. So you'll have to have system changes and staffing changes to be able to do that.
Senator McDougal.
Madam Chairman, if it's only a part of a year, not a full year, how many staff changes, additional staff do you anticipate you need?
Yeah, Madam Chair, Senator McDougal, we haven't worked on the amendment as I just heard it this morning, that end of it. So I haven't broken it down to say in 1 month or 2 months or 3 months, just looking at it for an annual period, which is the way the bill came to us.
Senator McDougal.
Madam Chairman, I guess my question is, if it wasn't in the House budget and there was no Senate cognate, how are we paying for that?
I think staff said that were you able to find any fiscal impact? Mike?
Madam Chair, so yes, I think what the Deputy Commissioner had mentioned was the idea that to extend the timeframes, you need additional staff at the local departments, they need system changes. So what the committee substitute attempted to do was both versions have the language that they're really only going to put the regulations in effect if there's adequate funding provided. Committee substitute was trying to provide more discretion as opposed to just requiring it to be year-long, to basically say that they could extend it whether it's weeks or a month or 2 months. But again, it's still based upon providing adequate funding for them to extend the application period.
And Madam Chair.
Senator Favola, are you in queue?
I am. Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have one question. Frequently with federal grants, we're able to use a portion of the dollars to pay for administrative costs. Is that the case with this grant?
Madam Chair, Senator Favola, the LIHEAP program is a block grant, and there's a 10% administrative cap on that block grant. So if the block grant it's roughly, usually about $500 million is the total cost of this block grant. So up to 10% of that could be used for administrative funding. It doesn't change, if you lengthen the application period, it doesn't change that 10% cap.
Follow-up question, Madam Chair.
Senator Favola.
I just wonder if staff, in calculating the impact on the state budget, that we also considered the fact that we could use up to 10% of the LIHEAP money for administrative costs. Going forward, I don't know if we're going to be able to fix it this session, but I do think this is a good idea. And I'd like all avenues explored. Thank you.
You've heard from the patron and the speaker. We're at the point where we can entertain a
Madam
motion.
Chair.
Senator Locke.
Madam Chair, we did approve this last year in the budget, but somewhere in the shuffle in September timeframe, it got lost. And with that, I would move that we report.
Second. There's a motion and a second that the bill be reported with the substitute. Madam Clerk, please open the roll.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill is reported with a substitute.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
You're very welcome. Next in queue, you increase it, Senator. Delegate Creaser.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've got two bills for you. I'll start with 1157, if that's okay. That's this is a tribal consultation bill with a process that mirrors existing requirements for federal agencies to consult with tribal nations. As you know, Tribal consultation is a big win-win for the Commonwealth, private developers, the nations, provides project predictability and efficiency by identifying and resolving potential sources of delay early in planning before millions of dollars have been invested. This bill also creates a position of tribal ombudsman whose role is to liaise with state agencies and tribal nations to ensure the development of meaningful consultation policies. And Chief Atkins is here if you want to hear from him. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. You've heard from the patron. Any questions of the patron? Senator Eben?
Yes, did we not do this in the past? This is just codifying what we used to do?
Madam Chair, Senator, this is the bill that Senator McClellan, now Congresswoman McClellan, had introduced and passed your body 40-0 a couple times. It has not been codified. It has been an executive order under Governor Northam, though.
Delegate Cruz, we do have a committee sub, so let's go through that and see if it help you a bit. Yes, Mike?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the committee substitute sort of narrows the provisions of the bill. It still creates the ombudsman for tribal consultation. It basically directs that the ombudsman shall facilitate the communication between the federally recognized tribal nations in the Commonwealth and relevant state agencies. It directs the ombudsman to develop a list of localities in which the federally recognized tribal nations in the Commonwealth shall be consulted regarding permits and reviews. It directs the ombudsman to assist the Department's Environmental Quality, Conservation, Recreation, Historic Resources, and Marine Resources Commission in developing policies and procedures to ensure meaningful and appropriate consultation with the federally recognized tribes, and requires them to make recommendations to the governor about permits and reviews that, in the opinion of the ombudsman, would require consultation to federally recognized tribal nations in the Commonwealth, and then has an enactment clause to require that the list of localities be reported by January 1st of 2025.
You heard the substitute? Second. There's a motion and a second that the substitute be agreed to. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Thank you.
Report the bill with the substitute.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be reported with the substitute. Madam Clerk, please open the roll.
Ayes 14, no 0, 1 abstention.
Ayes 14, no 0, and 1 abstention. The bill is reported with the substitute. You have a second bill, that's 1397.
Yes, Madam Chair, this one does have some line amendments that came out of.
There is another committee amendment, so we'd like to hear that first.
Madam Chair, we do have some amendments coming out of the General Laws Subcommittee, and then we do have a committee amendment as well. The additional amendments that were not adopted in Gen Laws, only in concept, would clarify that the notice of sale and relocation expenses would stay statewide, but the right of first refusal would just be for Planning District 8. And then the committee amendment would provide that when the locality has the right to purchase a manufactured home park at the price, terms, and conditions stated in the proposed purchase agreement, that will only be provided that if the locality uses state funds for such purchase, such locality may only use non-general funds as such funds are appropriated for the purchase of that manufactured home park.
There's a motion and a second that the committee substitute be agreed to. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Second.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be reported as amended. Madam Clerk, please open the roll.
Ayes 11, noes 4.
Ayes 11, noes 4.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Bill is reported with the substitute. Next in queue, Delegate Siebel. Delegate Siebel. Here you go.
Good morning, Madam Chair.
Good morning.
I am back again with HB 45.
Call your attention to House Bill 45. Delegate Siebel, go right ahead.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Basically tens of thousands of Virginians are sitting in our prison system.
Do you have a sub?
Yes, but it was passed on Thursday.
Okay.
Do we need to repass it?
Yeah, we already adopted. Okay, go right ahead.
Okay, all right, thanks. So basically, this bill is about earned sentence credit and not being able to receive it pre-trial detention. And tens of thousands of Virginians are
Could
currently
you
sitting.
suspend for a moment?
Yeah.
I was correct. I don't think we did pass this up, did we, Staff Attorney? Okay, you brought them up. We went by for the day. I don't think we heard them. Okay. There's a motion and a second that the substitute be agreed to. All in favor, please say aye. Those have same right. Now Stephen's gonna describe the substitute for us, and then we'll have you continue.
Madam Chair, there are 3 amendments. They would apply the provisions of the Act retroactively to any person who's confined in any correctional facility on July 1, 2025, rather than July 1, 2024. For that retroactive piece, it would be subject to appropriations as provided in the General Appropriation Act, and then it has a delayed effective date of July 1, 2025 for the entire Act.
Okay, I'll move to report the bill with the amendments.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be reported with the amendment. Madam Clerk, please open the roll.
Ayes 10, noes 5.
Ayes 10, noes 5, the bill is reported with the amendment.
That was much easier. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
Next in queue is Delegate Clark, to be followed by Delegate Willett and Carr.
While Delegate Clark's coming up, Madam Chair, I would make a motion on, having voted on the prevailing side whereby we carried over his House Bill 1401, that we reconsider that vote.
You've heard the motion for reconsideration and the second. All in favor? No, I think we need to have a recorded vote on that. Madam Clerk, please open the roll. On reconsideration.
Ayes 15, noes 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. Delegate Clark.
Madam Chair, the reason why I made that motion is that since that vote, we've got another letter in here from somebody that says the funds will be this is the one that provides retirement benefits, enhanced retirement benefits to 20 firefighters that are employed by the state. Since that time, since the vote, we received another letter that says that they will be reimbursed by the federal government. We need to figure out whether who that letter's from. So I'd make a motion, we put a reenactment clause on the bill, get it in conference so we can further discuss this issue.
You've heard the motion? And a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Now I'd move to report the bill as amended.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be reported as amended, and thank you for the letter. Madam Clerk, please open the roll. Page, have all the information.
Ayes 15, noes 0.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Madam
Bill?
Chair?
Yes.
Madam Chair.
Oh,
Also, similar fashion, since we're working through this, having voted on the prevailing side for House Bill 1312, I move to reconsider the vote, which we reported.
1312.
1312.
And that is?
Senator Delegate Orrock.
Delegate Orrock. You've heard the motion for reconsideration. Madam Clerk, please open the roll.
Ayes 15, noes 0.
Ayes 15, no 0.
And Madam Chair, in similar form, since it's still pending between budgets, I move a reenactment clause be added to the bill.
There's a motion and a second.
And Madam Chair, this is a motion that I'd support. This is a bill that I've carried in the past, and I support the idea, but we have never, it's not in our budget. It's in the House budget. And I think if we pass the bill without the reenactment clause, we tie the hands of the conferees. And I would, if we put a reenactment clause on here, we can make sure that the whole thing stays in discussion as we complete work on the budget.
Okay, Kim, we need to complete the motion.
So that amendment.
And Senator Searle, did you want to speak before we finish carrying this?
No, the only thing I was going to say, Madam Chair, speaking to the amendment, Senator Dietz took this over from Senator Poehler, who was my predecessor in the Senate 9 years ago, who was trying to get this done. I just really hope we could eventually find the money to get this done. These folks, I represented 3 state parks when I was in my old seat, and a lot of people who work there, the law enforcement who work there, really have been needing this for years, and I hope we can make it a priority.
Thank you for that, Senator Searle, but Senator Deeds, and I've been here for 32 years, and I think he had the bill first.
I had it before she did.
Okay, can we carry this motion?
We haven't adopted the reenactment clause.
Okay, we need to adopt the reenactment clause. Is there a motion?
There's been a motion.
And a second. Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Now I move to report the bill.
Now there's a motion and a second that the bill be reported as amended. Madam Clerk, please open the roll.
Ayes 14, noes 1.
Ayes 14, noes 1. The bill is reported with amendment. Now back to you.
Yes.
Delegate Clark?
Yes, Madam Chair, I have HB 351.
Yes, HB 351. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Got it.
Awesome, thank you, Madam Chair.
Delegate Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. HB 351 will require any person who purchases a firearm to either purchase a locking device when there is a minor in the home or complete a certification statement on a form provided by the Department of the State Police that verifies there isn't a minor in the home. Violation of this will result in a Class 3 misdemeanor. We know safety and responsibility is paramount when it comes to being a gun owner, and we want to make sure that we are putting forth safeguards and prioritizing them in the household when minors are present. So I hope it is the will of the body to support HB 351.
You've heard from the patron. Any questions? Motions?
Madam Chair, I'd move to report the bill.
There's a motion.
We put a reenactment clause on it in the courts committee, and I'm still not sure how it relates to a bill that the senator from Northern Fairfax carried. But if we report it with a reenactment clause, we'll have plenty of time to figure it out.
You've heard the motion. And a second? Madam Clerk, please open the roll.
Ayes 10, noes 5.
Ayes 10, noes 5. The bill is reported.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and members of the committee.
You're welcome. Delegate Willett.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I've got HB 1185 before you. I think it is not lost on this committee the impact of opioid overdoses and deaths in the Commonwealth. We're losing up to 7 Virginians a day from overdoses. Timely access to non-fatal overdose information can save lives. Healthcare providers, if they have a look at the patient's full history, can actually better treat that patient. Under current law, healthcare providers look at the prescription history for that patient. They're not allowed to see the non-fatal overdose information. They don't get that information right now. My HB 1185 simply would allow access to that information, put it in the system. This is something that the Department of Health Professions would have done some time ago. They lack the statutory authority to do so. So this would enable them to do that. It will save lives from this terrible opioid addiction crisis that we have. The most significant question, I think, related or germane to this committee is the funding source. And DHP is a non-general fund agency, as you know. We have identified funding through the Commonwealth Opioid Abatement Remediation Fund. It's called CORE. That fund, as part of the opioid settlement, specifically states that funds can be used to support enhancements to what's called the prescription monitoring program. This is dollars that would go to that enhancement. Madam Chair, I have folks that can speak to this bill, and I welcome your questions. Thank you.
You've heard from the patron. Are there any questions? Any concerns or comments or motion?
Madam Chair, I am concerned about costs, and I'm just concerned about how this works with some of the other things we've done this session. I'm going to move to carry the bill over.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be carried over. Madam Clerk, please open the roll.
Ayes 12, noes 3.
Ayes 12, noes 3. The bill is carried over.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Delegate Carr.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of the committee. HB 1105 establishes a pilot program sourced from a JLARC recommendation from their 2021 study of the
Delegate
state.
Carr, could you suspend for a moment? We have a committee substitute. Could we hear the substitute?
Madam Chair, the substitute would convene a study on zoning policies allowing for by right development in other states and inform any action in Virginia with lessons from those other states moving forward.
I'll move the substitute.
There's a motion and a second that the substitute be agreed to. All in favor, please say aye. Noes have the same right.
Move to report as substitute 4.
It has been moved and seconded that the bill be reported in substitute form. Madam Clerk, please open the roll.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill is reported with the substitute. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And committee members, if there's no further business, the committee shall rise.
Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia.